the coldest place in the world. Without rain. Hard to live there. Antarctica. Hello and welcome to Z. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell icon. Antarctica is by far the most enigmatic continent on the planet, with no permanent inhabitants. We don't know much about this odd and desolate landscape. However, Antarctica is also home to some of the coldest temperatures imaginable, and today we're investigating the world's coldest spot. Antarctica's average yearly temperature is -70 degrees Fahrenheit. Even on the frozen continent, though, there is a vast range of temperatures. The coastal sections average 14 degrees Fahrenheit, whereas a frozen ice ridge of the East Antarctic Plateau between the summits Domes Argus and Fuji measured a mind-boggling -148 degrees Fahrenheit. This is officially the coldest temperature reading in Earth's history. And some scientists say it cannot get any colder. In 2013, a group of academics studied maps and weather patterns to investigate why it becomes so chilly. When the sky clears, the already chilly temperatures drop rapidly. If the sky remains clear for a few days, the ground cools as it emits its remaining heat into space. This creates a layer of highly cold air above the snow and ice's surface. This layer of air is denser than the somewhat warmer air above it, causing it to slip down the Antarctic Plateau's short slope of domes. As it flows into the pockets, it can be caught, and the cooling continues by allowing the air to remain motionless for extended periods of time while continuing to radiate additional heat into space, resulting in the absolute lowest temperatures. We're successful in locating the lead, researchers stated. We expected to find one magical place that got exceedingly cold, but what we found was a broad strip of Antarctica at high altitude that consistently reached these record low temperatures. Researchers discovered that the area was even colder than they had previously anticipated after years of monitoring the spot with satellites for new data. They thought it could only get to -133 degrees Fahrenheit at the time, but new data showed otherwise. That under extreme conditions, the temperature may drop to the current world record low of -148 degrees Fahrenheit, and that this reading was not an outlier. The same reading was obtained at more than 100 places over the plateau, showing that it was widespread under the correct conditions. The plateau is over 12,000 feet above sea level. This, paired with clear sky and no wind during the winter, creates the ideal circumstances for extremely dangerous cold. Scientists say that because the conditions are so particular, it cannot possibly be any colder on Earth. There is a limit to how long the conditions can last in order for it to cool to these ultra-low temperatures, as well as a limit to how much heat you can actually get through the atmosphere, because water vapor has to be almost non-existent in order for the surface to emit heat at these temperatures. According to the lead researchers, many people mistakenly believe that the South Pole is the coldest portion of Antarctica, but in fact, the South Pole is far lower in elevation than the East Antarctic plains. As a result, its temperature remains rather warm. The average temperature is -56 degrees. By every other definition, Antarctica is incredibly cold, although it is virtually tropical. Despite its appearance as a frozen wasteland, Antarctica is home to a plethora of natural riches. The great portion of the continent is ice-covered, making exploration tough, yet resources are still available. To put this in perspective, Antarctica stores 90% of the world's freshwater ice and 70% of total fresh water. Even if just one ice sheet melted, the Earth's oceans would rise by a stunning 16 feet. Antarctica is primarily a center for scientific study rather than commercial ventures. However, new exploration indicates that it may hold huge mineral reserves, primarily copper. Some claim that huge petroleum deposits exist in Antarctica, however no one has proved this due to the Antarctic Treaty signed in 1959. Commercial mining is not permitted on Antarctica. Because no one formally owns Antarctica, allowing commerce on the continent would be extremely difficult. Opening up the area to commercial endeavors would result in a land grab and maybe a proxy war among the world's many nations. Antarctica is divided into two regions, East and West Antarctica. The East is roughly the size of Australia and accounts for roughly 2/3 of the barren continent. Because of the exceedingly dry climate, very little life can live here. When severe winds blow them off track, south polar skewers and snow patrols can be seen. Microbes were discovered living in the South Pole ice in the year 2000. Scientists reported in the journal Gondwana Research that they had discovered evidence of dinosaurs wearing feathers to defend the creatures from the harsh cold. The fossils were discovered over 100 years ago in Kumwara, Australia, but in sediment that had accumulated beneath a lake that was near the South Pole millions of years ago. Despite the fact that the majority of the continent is covered with snow, Antarctica has been declared the driest area on the planet. The parched valleys have had no rain for approximately 2 million years. There is no precipitation in this region, which covers 4,800 square kilometers and has nearly no water, ice, or snow. Though there are some minor water features, there has been no net gain or loss of water in over 2 million years. The closeness between terrain and nature on Mars' surface has allowed NASA to undertake experiments. It became the ideal location for putting Viking spacecraft's high-slope capability to the test. The usual thickness of Antarctic ice is nearly a mile deep, but it has been melting in recent years owing to climate change. In the previous 16 years, Antarctica has lost enough ice to fill Lake Michigan. According to the findings of a new NASA mission, about 5,000 gigatons of ice have evaporated. A gigaton is 1 billion metric tons, or enough to fill 400,000 Olympic-sized swimming pools, and it is responsible for global sea level rise. In all likelihood, the coldest place on Earth will not be as cold in the near future. So, what are the other coldest spots on the planet for a long time? The coldest spot was supposed to be the Vostok Research Center on Antarctica, where a Russian-controlled station registered a temperature of minus 120 degrees in July 1983. This incomprehensibly low temperature held the record for several decades before satellite technology allowed scientists to take temperatures in even less favorable regions like the East Antarctic Plateau. The third and fourth coldest temperatures were recorded at the Amundsen-Scott South Pole Station and the Dome Argus, both in Antarctica, with temperatures of minus 115 and minus 114, respectively. The coldest temperature recorded outside of Antarctica was taken on Denali, the highest peak in North America located in Alaska, and registered a temperature of minus 100 degrees Fahrenheit. The climate of the interior of Alaska is best described as extreme and is the best example of a true subarctic climate. The greatest and lowest recorded temperatures in Alaska have both happened in the interior. The same location recorded a temperature of 100 degrees Fahrenheit. That is, it endured a 200-degree swing, which was significantly bigger than practically anywhere else on the planet. Denali is more than 20,100 feet above sea level, which means that extreme weather patterns frequently emerge on its high escarpments. The Japan Alpine Club established a meteorological station on a ridge near Denali's summit at an elevation of 18,733 feet, which served to record some of the lowest temperatures in North America for Hyons to date. Russia has the sixth coldest temperature on the planet, with a record low of -94. Currently, there are just about 1,200 people living in Verkhoyansk, but the population was more than double 15 years ago. People tend to leave this location in pursuit of better living conditions. Because of the harshness of life, disease is particularly common. Verkhoyansk is one of the most secluded towns. There are no routes leading to this location in the winter when the entire region has iced over. In the summer, drive over the frozen marshes following the course of the frozen Yana River. When the river has melted and the marshes have thawed, the only way to get to Voljansk is via helicopter. Residents mostly hibernate during the winter. Avoiding going outside as much as possible, homes are heated by wood fires and hot water pumped from a central heating plant that operates around the clock. Throughout the winter, individuals obliged to venture outside warm themselves with wood fires in roadside huts and by keeping automobile engines running. Schools stay closed only when temperatures fall below -55 degrees Celsius. The remaining top 10 coldest spots on the planet are distributed around the globe, with 2 in Greenland, 1 in Russia, and the last in Canada, all of which are unlikely to overtake the East Antarctic Plateau. Life is undoubtedly difficult in these remote and harsh settings, but the average individual might be thankful that winter is not quite as difficult in most populous areas. This is all for now. Thank you for being with us.